I'm a 35-year-old guy, and I've been married to Ellie, who's 34, for 5 years. We're just an ordinary couple who work during the week and like to unwind on the weekends. But things have been changing over the past 3 months. One Sunday, while we were relaxing together, Ellie surprised me by showing me pictures of her friends and asking me to rate them. I was a bit shocked at first, but she said it was all in good fun, so I went along with it. I made it clear that I didn't mean anything by it, and she reassured me. During the game, I ended up giving the highest rating to her friend Lily, who's 33. Lily used to be Ellie's gym partner before they became friends, and we've all hung out together. Then, out of nowhere, Ellie asked me if I would sleep with Lily if I had the chance. I was taken aback and reminded her that I had said it was all just for fun. I know how things can get blown out of proportion sometimes. Ellie assured me she wasn't jealous and said that if I found Lily attractive, I could explore that. It left me stunned. I made it clear that I didn't find Lily attractive. She just happened to be better looking than most of Ellie's other friends. I know it sounds shallow, but it was all part of the game. Ellie kept insisting for the next few days that I should have a casual encounter with Lily. She believed that if I had even the slightest attraction to her, it was better to satisfy it openly rather than cheat behind her back. I told her I had no intention of sleeping with Lily and that I had never seen her that way. But she didn't seem to believe me. A few days later, we were at a house party at Lily and Joshua's place with just the 4 of us. My wife, Joshua, Lily, and I got a bit bored with the games, so we decided to watch a movie. I don't know whose idea it was to watch 2+2, but that's what we ended up watching. For those who haven't seen it, it's about couples swapping partners to add excitement to their relationships. After the movie and a bit of alcohol, we all looked at each other, wondering if we should do something similar. Thankfully, nothing happened, and we all burst into laughter. I almost forgot about that incident once Monday came around. But my wife didn't feel the same way. A few days into the week, while we were having a casual dinner table conversation, she brought up our experience from that night. She hinted that trying couple swapping might be exciting. I chuckled, thinking she was joking. My laughter turned to shock when she said she was serious. I asked if she had someone specific in mind for a couple swap, and she mentioned Joshua and Lily. I looked at her in disbelief and told her she couldn't be serious about this. I declined the idea, explaining that it would harm both our families. She nodded and admitted she wasn't that serious either. But the movie had sparked the idea, and she thought it would pass. I acknowledged it and moved on. However, as time went on, she continued to suggest we spice up our marriage. It's understandable that after 7 years together, the excitement in a relationship can dwindle, but that's part of marriage. You trade thrill for deeper feelings like stability, love, and care. I straightforwardly asked her if she was open to the idea of having a non-exclusive relationship. She flatly declined, stating that she suggested it only to strengthen our connection and nothing more. I reassured her of my love and my desire to be only with her. Time passed, but Ellie remained firm in her stance. She constantly dropped subtle hints that I should have closeness with Lily. One evening, Ellie returned from the gym with excitement. She revealed that she had talked to Lily about my interest. To my surprise, Lily and Joshua were also considering exploring their own bed life. I was taken aback. I inquired why she had discussed this with Lily. She explained that it was common for women to talk about such matters with their friends. Personally, I'm more old-fashioned. I wouldn't discuss such things with my male friends. While I might have mentioned it casually in the past, I had never gone into detail, especially regarding my wife. She went on to tell Lily that I found her attractive, and to my amusement, Lily blushed. Ellie seemed quite pleased with herself. I shrugged it off, saying it's normal for anyone to blush when they learn someone finds them attractive. But Ellie suggested that perhaps Lily was also interested in being close with me. To be honest, given how persistent she was, I had a feeling that something was up. So I decided to investigate her phone. I checked her messages and social media accounts, but everything looked clean, except for some spam messages from an unknown person. I couldn't help but feel guilty for doubting her. Ellie is known for her cheerful and candid personality. She never holds back, and that's one of the things I love about her. I had been treating her poorly ever since she started pushing me to have closeness with Lily. After confirming that her phone was clean, I couldn't help but despise myself for being unkind to her. I thought she loved me so much that she was willing to let me be with someone else. I felt truly fortunate. Over the following month, we regularly hung out with Joshua and Lily, whether for drinks, dinner, or gatherings at our homes and elsewhere. It was all pretty standard. However, something unusual was happening. I found myself developing a strong attraction to Lily, and there were several reasons for that. Whenever we were together, Ellie would playfully tease me, and sometimes Joshua joined in on the teasing, while Lily blushed and maintained intense eye contact. Honestly, who wouldn't feel a bit fluttery in such a situation? But every time this topic came up, I made it crystal clear that I had no intention of getting involved with Lily. Literally. I'm writing this because I find myself in a challenging situation. We have a long weekend coming up next week due to a Friday bank holiday. My wife and Lily had already made plans for all of us to have a short getaway at a beach resort. We've taken similar trips with Joshua and Lily before, but this time feels different. My wife, Ellie, is insisting that I have love with Lily during this vacation. I firmly declined, but she argues that we can always back off if things become uncomfortable. I asked Ellie what would happen if she feels hurt or possessive about it, and she responded that we won't truly understand ourselves until we give it a try. I'm feeling conflicted. I'd be dishonest if I said I wasn't intrigued, but I'm equally anxious. I'm worried that this could harm our marriage, but my wife believes it will strengthen our bond. She claims it's more common than I realize, even though people rarely discuss it openly. I'm unsure about how this whole thing works. I'm seeking advice from individuals who have ventured into this territory and their experiences. Is it truly a good idea to involve a third person to spice up our relationship? Update. Hey folks! Guess what? You were absolutely right. She was indeed cheating on me. After receiving some solid advice from a few of you, I made a decision to go along with it and see where it would lead. Now, I definitely didn't want to have closeness with Lily, but I put on a facade in front of Ellie, pretending I was open to giving it a shot. I wanted to find out what would happen once I agreed. Ellie was overjoyed that I had finally said yes. On the planned weekend, all four of us drove to a resort that was about 60 miles away. During the journey, while Ellie and Joshua were enjoying the beautiful scenery, I couldn't help but notice that Lily seemed distant and nervous for most of the trip. I wasn't feeling great either, but I was doing my best to pretend otherwise. I didn't have any concrete proof of wrongdoing. It was just a gut feeling. We arrived at the resort on Friday afternoon. The plan was to soak up the sun until evening, attend a party organized by the resort, and later explore our most desires. In short, everything was set up for Lily and me to get together. After freshening up, we had a sumptuous lunch and spent the rest of the afternoon lounging in the sun. I tried to have a private conversation with Lily, but she didn't acknowledge any discomfort. Instead, she smirked and said she was looking forward to the night. The party got pretty wild, but I made an effort to stay composed, anticipating the next step. Sensing my unease and alertness, Joshua reassured me, claiming everything was fine, and that Lily just wanted to have a good time with me. She was attracted to my physique. Now that I know the truth, I'm disgusted by his actions. I had no idea what time it was when we left the party, and suddenly I found myself in a room with Lily. We both sat there feeling awkward, and I couldn't tell how much time passed. She finally broke the silence and asked how we should proceed. I questioned whether we really needed to do this. She gave me a puzzled look. I then asked if she genuinely wanted to be close with me. She confessed to having a small crush on me but had never thought about being close until her husband Joshua put the idea in her head. I sensed something was off, so I asked her if she truly desired to be with me. To my astonishment, I discovered that she had been manipulated in a similar way as I had been. It all began with Ellie sharing the game where I rated Lily the highest. Ellie also mentioned to Lily that we were looking for ways to add excitement to our marriage. On the same day, Joshua came home and expressed how lucky he felt to have such an attractive wife that even I desired. Lily believed I had told Joshua about all of this, but it wasn't me. It was, in fact, Ellie who had spilled the beans. Or perhaps it was their plan all along. Since then, Joshua had been implanting this idea in Lily's mind. He asked her if she would be interested in having closeness with me. She refused multiple times, but he insisted that it would spice up and strengthen their relationship. Lily admitted she found my physique appealing, but not to the extent of wanting to have closeness. I made it clear that I never had any intention of it. I shared my side of the story, and she was shocked because all she knew until then was that I desired her. At that point, we both realized it was a scheme orchestrated by them. Lily confronted Joshua, asking if he and Ellie planned to do something similar. He denied it, stating he wanted Lily to experience it first, and if things went well, he'd consider it. I distinctly remember not talking to Ellie because I had no desire to be part of this game. I told her I suspected Ellie of cheating when she pushed for the hookup and checked her phone, but it was clean. We decided it was time to find out the truth. I wanted to confront them right away, but Lily insisted on catching them in the act to expose them. So, on the night of our supposed hookup, we planned to catch Ellie and Joshua outside. We knew they wouldn't risk anything at that point because we could back out and leave. When we went outside, we found them watching something on an iPad. They were sitting close. We told them we changed our minds and didn't want to go through with it. They looked disappointed and asked why. I explained it didn't feel right and they couldn't come up with much to say. I also said I had a sudden client meeting the next day, so we had to leave early. I suggested Ellie continue the vacation with Lily and Joshua, but none of them wanted to stay longer. We drove home the next morning. The four of us remained mostly silent on the way back home. Once we arrived, I changed and then left the house. I decided to drive to a coffee shop a bit farther away. About an hour after I left, Lily called to inform me that Joshua had also left the house, citing some urgent work. We both knew what that urgent work entailed. Lily mentioned that she had asked another friend to tail Joshua and would keep me posted on their whereabouts. As expected, they were found at my house. Before I left, I had told Lily I'd return home late in the evening, and they couldn't let this opportunity slip by. I hurriedly drove back to pick up Lily, my anger mounting as I headed home with the intention of catching them in the act. I used my key to unlock the apartment, and there they were, lying naked. Lily quickly took photos of them while they struggled to cover themselves up. Without hesitation, I stormed into the room, tossed Ellie's belongings outside the apartment, and demanded that she leave immediately. They both pleaded with us to hear them out. Joshua kept insisting that they were merely experimenting, similar to what we had done the previous night. I grabbed Joshua by the collar and confronted him, demanding to know when he started sleeping with my wife. Ellie tried to intervene, but I pushed her away. He claimed it was their first time exploring this sort of relationship. My anger intensified, and I tightened my grip on him, grinding my teeth as I pressed for a confession. I fixed Ellie with a furious gaze and told her I didn't mind going to jail for dealing with this parasite. I made it clear that either one of them confessed the truth, or I would deal with Joshua myself. Ellie, sobbing, eventually agreed and pleaded with me to stop. They finally confessed that they had been having an affair for over a year. Although they had been spotted together by a couple of my friends and one of Lily's, luckily for them, none had informed us. However, Joshua and Ellie lived in fear of being exposed eventually, so they devised a plan to involve us in a couple's swap and legitimize their cheating. I asked her how come her phone was clean when I checked it. She sobbed and admitted that they used to communicate only through emails, which she used to sign in only when required. They didn't chat often and used that email to communicate regarding the time and location of their meetup. It was just a cold, physical relationship between Ellie and Joshua. Lily left the house after hearing everything. Joshua followed her. I asked Ellie to leave the house immediately. She tried to hug me, sobbing and pleading with me. I made it clear that reconciliation is not on the table. She tried to fool me. I couldn't let her run over me. She only left our house when I threatened to involve her parents. I messaged Lily, asking her to send me the pictures she had taken of Ellie and Joshua. I forwarded those photos to Ellie's sister and explained everything to her. Ellie's sister confirmed that Ellie hadn't gone to her parents' house. After about a week, I emailed Ellie the divorce papers. Since I didn't know her current location, I had the lawyer send the physical copy to her parents' house. They called me in a state of panic. I included Ellie's sister on the call and asked her to share all the details. Following the email with the divorce papers, Ellie began sending me pleas. She had previously sent messages seeking reconciliation, but the frequency of her messages increased after receiving the email. Meanwhile, Lily decided to involve her parents in the situation. Lily's father was a businessman, and Joshua managed one of his business units. So when the truth came out, Joshua lost his job, and Lily's father used his connections to hinder Joshua's prospects in his field. It's been a month since the day everything came to light. My divorce proceedings are ongoing, with Ellie contesting it and demanding a share of my house. I'm deeply hurt by the betrayal and the way they attempted to drag us into their deceitful game. I'll provide updates if there are any further developments, but if not, consider this the final update. Update. I know some of you might have expected Lily and me to get together, but that didn't happen. As I mentioned earlier, neither Lily nor I wanted that hookup. We were both manipulated into it, but thankfully we managed to escape at the last moment. My divorce has been settled, and Ellie didn't get a dime. My lawyer argued that if she claimed a share of the property, we would also revisit the divorce terms and ask for alimony due to the emotional distress. Let me tell you, if you pay your lawyers well, they can negotiate for some pretty favorable outcomes. She eventually gave up and signed the papers. I can't recall if I mentioned this before, but Joshua was working at his father-in-law's company, and with these revelations, he was shown the door. He struggled to find a decent-paying job in his field. After leaving my house, Ellie rented a rather shabby apartment and offered Joshua to stay with her, but he declined, fearing further repercussions from his father-in-law and admitting he never loved her. Ellie had been living under the illusion that Joshua loved her, but that wasn't the case. Joshua made it clear that it was all for fun, with no emotional attachment, just as they had initially agreed. These revelations came to light during Lily's divorce proceedings, where Joshua confessed that he had been manipulated by Ellie, and his true affections lay with Lily. He pleaded with Lily and her father for another chance, but they rebuffed him and insisted on the divorce. I must admit, seeing my ex-wife exposed and humiliated in court didn't hurt one bit. It felt like justice served hot, just as she deserved. She was abandoned by everyone she knew, her husband, her lover, her friend, and her family. Her parents and siblings turned their backs on her. I'm not sure about her current job status, but news like this tends to spread like wildfire. I briefly considered sharing those incriminating photos with some of her colleagues, but I decided against it. As for her current situation, I can't say for sure, but I doubt she can maintain her previous lifestyle on her current income. She risked our stable relationship for a fleeting thrill and ended up getting what she deserved. I've started counseling to help me cope. I was grappling with disturbing thoughts about the night Ellie had planned for my hookup. Therapy is slowly helping me move forward, but I think it will take some more time to completely rid myself of her memory. My friends suggest I should start meeting other women, but I don't think I'm quite ready to dive into the dating scene just yet. All right, that was a fun story. Now let's move on to another exciting one. Stay tuned and let's dive in. Story 2. I'm not proud of my actions, and I do believe that karma will catch up with me someday. I'm ready to face the consequences. It's embarrassing for someone like me, who's somewhat successful, to admit to such petty behavior. I'm 26 years old. I had an amazing friend of 2 years who eventually asked me out and we started dating. Let's call him Jaden. We connected on a deep emotional level, and there was something about him that made me fall in love. We maintained a long-distance relationship for a year, and it felt incredibly serious to me. Jaden is the type of guy who just goes with the flow of life. Some might call it laid back. It became routine for me to assist him financially, and I did it willingly. I covered his mechanic bills once and bought groceries for his family several times because they were going through a tough time. He always appeared to live without a care in the world. I playfully asked him once, "What would you do if I didn't pay for your food?" He'd respond, "Eat less or maybe nothing at all," while shrugging. Despite living 3 hours apart, everything seemed fine, and we visited each other frequently. But then, things took a turn. I learned from his sister that he had been communicating with other women while we were in a relationship. I confronted him, but Jaden denied it and refused to take responsibility. He claimed that I was the only one on his mind and that his sister didn't know what she was talking about. I believed him because of my love for him. However, 3 weeks ago, a mutual friend revealed that he had been seeing another woman in his town and having closeness with her. When I confronted him about this, he shifted the blame to me, saying, "You know it's hard for me to control myself, and you've been neglecting me. You should understand that the distance is tough on me." This wasn't accurate during our time apart. I visited him every other weekend when I could afford it, and we communicated daily. He also accused me of not wanting him to live with me, which was true, to be honest. But my reason was that I didn't want to support a grown man and pay his bills. I felt devastated, especially when Jaden, my partner, told me he loved me and was willing to do anything to make our relationship work, only to completely cut off contact the very next day. I confided in my friends, and they informed me that the girl he had gotten involved with was just an easygoing woman who had been around town for a while. To be honest, this hurt me even more. Let's call her Destiny. It seems quite fitting. They also revealed that he had started seeing her the day after our conversation, maybe even before. I stood by Jaden during his toughest moments, the lowest point in his life, only for him to cheat on me with the least reputable woman in town, repeatedly lie about it, and give me false hope like I'm a gullible fool. Then he vanished without explanation after seeking cheap thrills. During that time, I had to go through the humiliation of scheduling a gynecologist appointment for an STD check. Why should I blame myself? I didn't betray anyone. 2 weeks ago, while still dealing with my heartbreak, I reactivated my Facebook account and spent hours browsing through profiles of my ex and his new love interest. Deep down, I knew it wasn't healthy, but I couldn't resist. Instead of focusing on their flirtatious messages, I fixated on her profile. I scrolled through months of cringeworthy selfies taken in a grimy, dimly lit bathroom with barely any clothing, the kind even someone with loose morals might feel embarrassed about. Then, I did something I'm not proud of. Please don't judge me. I was in a bad place. I created a fake profile of an attractive man who used to attend her school. I quickly befriended her friends, posted fake updates, and added her as a friend. All of this happened in less than a day. It's surprising how many people will accept friend requests on Facebook based solely on your appearance, whether they actually know you or not. In just 2 hours, I had 140 friends, and friend requests kept pouring in every few minutes. I couldn't help but wonder who was more pitiful, me or these people who were so easily deceived. The following day, I began chatting with her, and she was remarkably candid, even sending me photos of herself in rather revealing attire, all to a total stranger, and without receiving anything in return. It made me wonder why many men didn't see this as a red flag. As a woman myself, I found it quite effortless to tell her what she wanted to hear. 2 or 3 days later, Destiny was already venting to me about her relationship problems with Jaden. Yes, you read that correctly. I suggested meeting up to show her what it's like to be with a real man. At this point, I had saved hours of conversations, including the dirtiest innuendos I had ever come across, along with pictures, voice messages, and so on. It was time. Meanwhile, as all of this unfolded, Jaden began reaching out to me, admitting that his actions were a mistake. I inquired if they had broken up, and he falsely claimed they had. Not once, but twice, when they hadn't. Strangely, this should have shattered my heart, but it didn't. I knew the truth, but reassured him that I still loved him, was willing to forgive and forget, and even wanted him to move in with me. He sounded thrilled, declared his intention to give his 2 weeks' notice at work, and even texted me later that day, saying he had abruptly left his job without notice because he felt they weren't worth it. He mentioned he would pack his things and head over later in the week. I'm aware that karma will catch up with me, but this was my way of getting revenge. I posted all of our conversations on the fake profile, tagged her in it, and shared the pictures and videos exclusively for my ecstasy. Then, I watched the drama unfold before deactivating the fake account. I received 53 likes and 82 messages. Her social circle, friends, and family all witnessed it. Jaden saw it too, and coincidentally immediately messaged me saying, "Hey babe, just wanted to say that I miss you so much, can't wait to be with you again, miss you," without mentioning anything about the other girl. Little did he know that I was more informed than he realized. Friday comes around, and he informs me that he's heading to my apartment. It's worth mentioning that I recently moved, so when Jaden was en route, he didn't know my new address. So, I suggest we meet at a nearby CVS where I can guide him to my place. Classic Jaden, he responds with, "Sure, but I'm running low on gas. Can you fill up my tank? Don't forget your credit card." I, in my forgiving nature, agree, and tell him I'll do it once he arrives. Soon, I receive a text saying he's at the CVS and asks for my whereabouts. I deliberately ignore it. 30 minutes later, he starts blowing up my phone like an aggressive telemarketer from an overseas call center. I ignore his calls. I admit, I was a bit petty, letting it ring once so he knows I'm sending it to voicemail. An hour passes and he calls, leaving a voicemail expressing concern. "Hey babe, I'm worried about you. Are you okay?" I was more than fine. 2 hours later, he informs me that he's stranded. He drove to another CVS thinking I was there, ran out of gas, and is now stuck at a gas station with all his stuff in the car. I still ignore his calls. I think it's the perfect time to get some sleep, but my excitement keeps me awake. So, I take an Ambien and hit the hay. Saturday morning, it looks like a phone apocalypse occurred as I see my phone with 37 text messages, 28 missed calls, and 7 voicemails, all from one person. Guess who? Unfortunately, I can't share the voicemails, but I can say that eventually, Jaden had to call his mom to come get him. After that, I blocked his number and had to change mine because he began calling me from his family's phone. Despite all the blocked calls, I received a message from his sister, the same one who told me about his affair. She was eager to update me on the aftermath. She revealed that their mom and Jaden returned home with Jaden sobbing his heart out, while their mom was furious. Interestingly, their mom wasn't mad because of his cheating. She was livid with me for what I did to her snotty kid. His sister made sure to reassure me, saying I was strong and deserved someone better than her deceitful, unfaithful brother. I acknowledge that I acted impulsively throughout this entire ordeal, likely tarnishing this girl's reputation within her social circle. I'm considering reactivating the fake profile to apologize or something, but I'm undecided. It's worth noting that she knowingly engaged in a relationship with a man who had a girlfriend, even seducing him and then cheated on him as well. I'd appreciate your thoughts on this. She's unaware that it was me, just a random guy who exposed her actions. I made a conscious effort not to share the pictures, only showing them to my ex, although he knows it's her. Nobody has connected the dots, and I ensured it stays that way. I was cautious throughout this process. I lost him, yes, but I have no desire to get him back. It might sound crazy, but I still have lingering feelings for Jaden, my ex. He'll never forgive me now that he's jobless, and the whole town knows his business. Destiny even admitted his wiener schnitzel is tiny, trying to shift the blame onto Jaden instead of taking full responsibility. A small part of me regrets everything and wishes for a reconciliation, but a larger part of me is relieved that I've put an end to any chance of that happening. As it wouldn't have worked out in the long run, it feels liberating to get all of this off my chest. Thank you.